Afternoon, guys. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. It's a beautiful day here in East Texas. I figured I'd get in this last Madigan Bloodlines reading according to Gus Frishthrof's accounts of the era between 1909 and 1935 when Gus worked for Mr. Madigan and as he seen it at the time that it happened. The Madigan Claret fowl was Harrisford Brown Red, Harrisford Yellow Birchen, which is the Duray fowl. What Madigan did is Madigan and Duray and O'Connell and all those guys, they added some Mansell pile to them, and there was just a touch of the Gilman gray in them. And once they added the second infusion of the Mansell pile out of the black spur line, they started coming white. That was in 1917. So they're the exact same chickens. The red ones and the white ones were exactly the same. Just every now and then they throw some white ones because of that Mansell pile. That was a white fowl. Okay, and that's pretty much your clarets. And then he had another bloodline he called his pickets, which was they added a Loman cock, and then they bred it back out. They wasn't clarets; they were called the pickets, and bred it back out, I think, to an eighth or something. And that Loman fowl was the same fowl that Marsh used, and the same fowl that Stryker used. But they bred that back out to an eighth. That was another one of Madigan's red bloodlines that Gus speaks of. Then you get to your regular grays, which your regular grays are going to be basically a four-way cross, a five-way cross. No, there'll be a four-way cross because he infused more. What he did was he took a gray claret cock. They bred over a Harrisford Brown Red, black and tan hen, which is a half and half cross, and the black and tans were made up of the Harrisford Brown Red and the Eastland Red Quill, the last Eastland Red Quill hen alive in 1885. Her genetics is what was in those chickens. And then they come back and they reinfused a 3/4 Mansell pile cock back in later to the offspring out of that, and that's what made your regular grays. And then there were some brown red ones. That's the reason they come the name regular gray. Some of the stacks come brown red colored. Some of the stacks come typical gray. That's where they got the name, hence regular gray, because they were typical regular gray colored. Some of them were. Some of them was brown red colored. We know that Frost ended up with the regular gray blood. We know that when Frost got out of the business, the fowl ended up with Mr. Mansell, the gray fowl. We also know that Madigan, the majority of his his red fowl went to Walter Kelso with Bill Joplin, which is Mr. Joplin's son, obtaining some too at the time of Mr. Madigan's passing. Now, these things are facts. They're not conjecture. They're facts straight from the readings of Gus Fristhrof from his articles. He was there. He worked for Madigan. He worked for Walter Kelso. He worked for Jim Frost. He worked for Japhet. He was there. His life paralleled with this red fowl. And these gray fowl, the Madigan fowl. So, without further ado, we'll continue on. One thing before I start this reading, I've learned some things by doing these readings. There's a lot of people out there that follow me, and I appreciate every one of you. And I'm trying to educate you guys. I have no agenda. I do not own one Madigan bird. I do not own one regular gray bird. And also, something that I've come to realize is a lot of people, a lot of these stories, the way that people think that this fowl was created, was obtained because they got this information because the people that was selling them the fowl needed them to buy the fowl. Not to say that their fowl isn't very good or even excellent. It's just the facts don't line up with the stories they were told, and which is okay. And I'm not going to argue any points with anybody. I'm just glad that you're all rooster man, and that the more you guys, the better. I'm just going to give you the history. I can't and refuse to ever steer away from the facts for conjecture. The facts are the facts. I will always use the most knowledgeable, the most reputable author when I'm doing these readings on any bloodline. The facts. I won't use someone that wasn't present at the time of it happening. I won't go to someone who was born in 1968 and talk about fowl that was created in 1885. Because then there's a lot of conjecture to be interpreted there. I will always try my best to use the most accurate authors in doing these readings. And if it don't align with what you've been told, that's okay. It's okay. I understand. I've come to an enlightenment that people were twisting stories for their own personal needs. And it wasn't you guys. It's way back yonder. It really, it was a sad day when I come to that realization that these stories have been created by people that some of the people I respected as breeders in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, that they just told things to people that just wasn't true, and just to sell them a chicken. But we're going to stick to the facts, and I just want to broaden everybody's knowledge. And my next reading, we'll talk about it at the end of this reading. But this is a short one, but it's going to finish up on the Madigan bloodlines. It's Gus Fristhrof journals. And a lot of people, I got some haters out there. I got some of you guys out there that you pretend that you like me, but you really don't. And I know that. I can see that by the things you're doing, which is fine. It's good. You know that you're a popular guy when people hate you. That's when you get your first hate fans. That's when you know that people are listening. So, haters hate on. Ask me if I give a shit. Anyway, we're going to carry this on here. We're going to start off with, we're going to finish up Gus. And then I'll tell y'all why and who I'm going to read next. Without further ado, believing that some pit experience is absolutely essential for breeding fowl intended for that purpose, I cite you the following particular records of my fighting. And this is Gus's mains that he used the Madigan fowl in. Defeated G. Berlin in a 5-cock shake main 3-2. Defeated R. Decker of Llano, Texas. T's 7-6 in 1933. defeated Judge Wilkins 8-3 at Austin, Texas in 1934. Defeated Rudy Voss, Judge Wilkins' protege, and Jeff Thompson, the pit owner at Austin, 6-5 in 1934. Gus the bad boy defeated Judge Wilkins 8-3. Seemed like Judge Wilkins kept coming back for more. He just couldn't accept that Gus was putting a whooping on him regularly. You think at some point he'd realize that he wasn't whooping that Madigan fowl, because this is like 3 times that he's got eat up by Gus. Anyway, 8-3 at Austin in 1934. Defeated Runt Weaver of Fredonia, Texas, at Austin 6 straight with 3 stags. He used 3 stags in the cock derby, went 6 straight. Defeated 3 stags in 1934, defeated in Beaumont, Texas, 5-1 in a 9-cock main. He fought this guy twice and eat him up both times, and used stags against cocks in most of the fights. Defeated Joe Boland, one of Mr. Madigan's feeders, Riley Alexandra, Ennis, Texas. So evidently Mr. Madigan had an ex-feeder or something that decided he wanted to test the waters with old Gus. Didn't work out too well for him. Brown and Levi and Ben Mackay of Corsicana, Texas, 8-5 main and 5-1 in hacks. In other words, they fought the main and then hacked the rest of them. He wore his ass out in both of them. In 1935, defeated Frank Perry, Colonel Dan Jaffett, Mr. Madigan's best friend in Houston, Texas, and Mr. Jim Frost in Houston, Texas, multimillionaire at Victoria, Texas, 7-4 and 5-2 in hacks. He's whooping the big boys with them. In 1936, defeated Smut Griffith, Jess Leonard, and Judge Wilkins 7-6 at Victoria, Texas. Judge Wilkins just keeps coming back for more. In 1936, Smut Griffin, Jess Leonard, and Judge Wilkins 5-2 again, and 9-1 in hacks. A total of 14 battles out of 17, 14 out of 17 battles in Victoria, Texas in 1937. 1937, defeated Herbert Greer, Smut Griffins, Jess Leonard, and Judge Wilkins 5-4 in a 9-cock main in Hayesville, Texas. They just keep coming back. These guys here can't realize that they probably should be picking some shallower water. That water's a little bit deep with the Madigan chickens and old Gus. 1937, fought Griffith, Landlord, Wilkins combine in 11-cock main to draw at Victoria, Texas. 1938, defeated Smut Griffin and Just Landlord 11-6 in a 17-stag main at Arcola, Texas. Madigan Kelso won thousands on this main, backing me. In 1939, we traveled 450 miles to fight Gilbert Curious near Orth, Louisiana. A 13-stag main to a draw. They hauled them 450 miles in 1939. And now trust me, they weren't running 75 miles an hour in an air-conditioned vehicle in 1939. 450 miles. Traveled them and got out and drawed the main. They were good chickens. The best in the world, without a doubt. Mr. Madigan considered Gilbert Curtius one of the 3 best cockers in America. 1948 defeated Hustler Prize, Sam Bingham in a 7-stag main, 4-2 in Lampasas, Texas. Sam Bingham has long been one of the best cockers in Texas. It's true, the Bingham Reds. And we'll do Sam Bingham. We'll do those Bingham Reds. There was a popular bloodline. There's some of them still around. They were excellent. And this is going to conclude Gus. And he has some stuff over here. People that wrote him some stuff about, some of the fowl they got from him. And it's all just positive reviews over here. But the fowl were excellent. We don't have to have anybody tell us that. Our next reading, and I'm going to go ahead and let y'all know, and you're going to go, why? Because you've been doing this. And we're going to go back and we're going to do a reading on, and I know you're thinking, my God, we've heard Hermes B. Duray so much. We're going to do a reading on Hermes B. Duray. It'll probably talk a little bit about Madigan at some point, but I doubt it. What it's going to do, it's going to talk about the history of the Duray fowl, because I have so many people that still believe Duray fowl are white eagles. So we're going to go back and we're going to do the reading on Hermes B. Duray. How he got the fowl. I know the history, and it is really cool. It is really cool. It's going to make you laugh, because it makes me laugh every time I think about it, because I can see this guy. And the way he got the fowl, y'all ain't going to believe it. But, you're going to believe it, but you're going to say, damn. Because this guy's like a he's royalty rich. He could get anything he wanted. Anyway, you're going to love the way he obtained his fowl and who he obtained them from and why he obtained them. That's the big thing, is why he obtained them. But it's going to be a great reading. I've read it before. And matter of fact, it's what first got me interested in Hermes B. Duray a long time ago. And you'll find out exactly what the fowl were, why they were bred. Some of the things that you're going to learn is going to open some eyes on some of these other bloodlines we're going to get into. And I'm going to really piss some people off when I get into some of these other bloodlines that derive from this Duray fowl. Because there's a lot of you folks, I think it was controversial over the Duray and controversial over the Madigan and the Grays. Wait till you get into some of these other chickens, and there's going to be some bad phone calls to some people. Anyway, y'all don't hate them too bad. They were just trying to sell y'all a chicken. Oh, poor got to get his old PayPal account built up. Anyway, I'm just kidding, guys. Don't take me serious. But I am. I really am not. But anyway, that's going to end Gus's stuff on the Madigans. Hope y'all enjoyed it. It's all factual. As you can see, it's not off the web. If you want to read this yourself, it's the January of 06 Feathered Warrior. It's a reprint of Gus Frishthrof's articles. It ain't coming off the web. I ain't getting it from Sibon. Don't get anything from Sibon. I love my Filipino brothers. I love them like no other. But I promise you, they don't know crap about American-bred fowl and the origins. It would be like me going to Pizza Hut and ordering a taco. Do you think them boys back there got the stuff to make that? Let me give you a little history about Filipino chickens and Filipino people. They're wonderful. They have a greater passion for the sport than anybody I know. But that being said, passion, they have gained leaps and bounds. They probably have the toughest roosters in the world right now. And simply because they have the toughest roosters in the world right now is, and I'm going to give you the facts behind it. In 2008, America became illegal, United States. Well, they was able to start obtaining some really great bloodlines for a really cheap price at that time. And a lot of people moved their stuff over there because they wanted to continue to fight, just like they did in Mexico. It's happening in both. But before that, you can look through the history, and way back in history, they had their own domestic breed of fowl. I forget what they call them over there, but it starts with a B or something. But the imports would dominate them. They knowed very little about American-bred fowl. They just knew they were badass and they wanted them. That's the number one thing they knew. They were badass and they wanted them. So you would never go, anybody in their right mind would never go to Pizza Hut and say, I want a taco salad. You're probably not going to get a very good one. So think about it. The best place to get your information is find these old journals and these old magazines. These journals, not off the internet, because anything I punch into a computer, trust me, I work on a computer. Anything that I punch in a computer is what that computer's going to say. And people twist this stuff to fit their own agendas. Trust me, I've seen so much of it since I started these readings that it almost made me want to stop doing it. Because I felt bad right here when I know people I've met people since I started these readings that's had fowl for 30 years now and was lied to 30 years ago. That was the thing that hurt me so bad. And I was thinking, wow, this was going on back then. And that's where a lot of these stories come from. Oh, so-and-so had these, he came to me, and I got his little bullshit. You just want to sell that man a chicken is what happened, even 30 years ago. And it's unbelievable. And I've actually seen some pictures of some chickens that I would have never had on my farm. And people's had them for 30 years. But it almost made me want to stop doing these and just let people continue on with the lies. But I won't, because that's not me. I'll keep reading, and we'll find the best authors and the most truthful authors. This lies paralleled with the fowl. I'm not going to pick somebody out of that was born in 78 that wrote an article on fowl that existed during the time period of the early 1900s. Because that's a 78-year gap. Common sense. Pizza Hut, Taco Bell. We're going to go back and do Hermes-B Duray. Because we still can't get it through people's minds that Duray fowl are not whitehackles. Kearney fowl is not whitehackles. But maybe this next reading will, and it'll be from a reputable author. Anyway, you'll never convince everybody, because it's hard. I can see where it would be hard to know that you spend a big, large portion of your life, and even though your fowl may be excellent, they're not what you thought they were. Which makes no difference. Then it makes no difference what you call chickens. If they're good chickens, they're good chickens. Like I said in my last video, good chickens are where you find them. You can call them, pink Barney dragons. It don't matter as long as they're good. If they satisfy you and they fit you and they do everything you ask for them to do and they suit you and you feel good about throwing them grain and water, taking good care of them, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. Because I want every one of you, and I want this sport to continue to grow. Regardless if you love me, hate me, whatever, we still are roostermen. And at the end of the day, we need to stand together on everything. And as long as you have game fowl, I'm going to support you. If you start doing that crooked, underhanded shit, I'm not going to support you. I will call you out on it. I don't care who you are. I think people that know me know that. That's the only way I can do these is be totally truthful with everybody about everything. And because once you start telling falsehoods to fit your agenda, then it becomes programmed. Once it becomes programmed, you might as well be watching a soap opera, because it's conjecture. That's the way we got where we are today with a lot of these falsehoods and these bloodlines. People made up stories to fit their agenda, and their agenda was to sell somebody a chicken. And that's what they done. And then the story got repeated and repeated and repeated because this buyer thought, he spent his money on this stuff. So that's how that happens. Anyway, guys, y'all have a great day. I'm fixing to go out there and get neck deep in it. I got some things to do, setting up some brood pens and things. Hope y'all enjoyed this last little reading. It's the end of the Gus Fristhrof on the Madigans at the time, 1909 to 1935. Y'all have a wonderful day, guys. God bless.